Muses of Mythology is a spoiler-heavy podcast.
That's an understatement.
We're going to discuss not just the events of this book, but the Rhineverse as a whole, and really anything that we feel is relevant. You can find full spoiler warnings in the show notes.
Sorry, I was just reading stuff about Assassin's Creed Valhalla because I haven't played it. Just found out that the game takes place in England.
Why?
Because you're a Viking invading England.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize that. That's really funny, honestly.
Welcome to Muses of Mythology, a podcast where we explore how ancient myths become part of modern pop culture through the lens of Rick Riordan's Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard. This is Story 80, Valhalla. I'm your co-host and podcasting muse, Darien and Smartt. Joining me is my co-host and brother, DJ.
How's everybody doing today? I'm DJ the Muse. We are just here having a good time.
Yes.
Do you think we could find Valhalla in the gardens?
We can certainly try. Hello, everybody. It is a new month, which means it's time for our monthly Patreon donation. Every month, we donate $1 for every patron we have over on Patreon to some organization that's working to create a net good in the world. This month, we're hoping to donate to a local organization, but given the nature of this organization, we still have to figure out the logistics. So we are putting a pin on it for this episode, and we'll come back next episode with a confirmation on the organization if we were able to donate to them successfully, or if we end up picking another donation. We appreciate your patience on this one. In the meantime, I want to shout out listener Stefan G, who emailed us after last episode with some excellent recommendations for other sources that we can go to for exploring Norse mythology. Stefan recommended a couple of Neil Gaiman's books, Odin and the Frost Giants and Norse mythology. Honestly, it is baffling that I don't already own these books since I'm a huge Neil Gaiman fan, and I hope to rectify that soon this season. Stefan also shouted out Red of Overly Sarcastic Productions' video about the Eddas. While I am a huge fan of Red and OSB, I will admit I have not consumed a lot of their work recently, especially since starting the podcast, specifically because I try to avoid consuming things that are in this same area that we exist in, the kind of mythological edutainment sphere. Not that I think anything is wrong with anyone else who does that. In fact, I think people do it so well that the reason I avoid it is because I don't want it to influence my perception going into the research for these topics, and thereby resulting in, rather than DJ and I being able to draw a unique conclusion of our own, just inadvertently parroting what already exists in a better format on the internet. That said, while I haven't been able to enjoy any of their recent stuff, that absolutely does not mean you should not. OSP does not need our recommendation, but we'll give it anyway. If you haven't checked them out, you absolutely should. They are phenomenal. Thank you, Stephen, for reaching out. I'm sorry I forgot to email you back. I hope shouting you out on the podcast makes up for that. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And now, back to the show. Okay, DJ, before we get into Valhalla, I want to make a couple of declarative statements.
Mm-hmm.
So, first, I want to shout out Owen from Through the Mist. He sent us a message after listening to our previous episode, and essentially it was, hey, do you know how far Iceland is from the rest of the Nordic countries? And the answer is, no, I didn't, because I did not think about that.
Yeah.
And it's far.
It's quite a distance.
It's really far. From,
that it is, yeah.
Like, Sweden, Norway, and Denmark are, like, right there. And then there's Iceland, which is, like, an ocean. And it's far. And the reason that's important, especially in regards to the last episode, is because both the Eddas are from Iceland.
Yeah. And
so you have these two pieces that are Icelandic being used as basically, this is Norse mythology. And I appreciate Owen pointing this out, because I think that's another piece of context we need to recall, is that it is very, very, very unlikely that these versions of the stories were very similar to whatever versions you would have found in Denmark, even if they are these similar cultural storytelling traditions. Mm-hmm. It would just not have been the same. Much like we would see, I would say, in Greece, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Mm-hmm. And then I want to shout out my friend Dalton for offering a similar piece of context and letting me know how Icelandic, so totally a very different language than the other ones. Like, just etymologically, like, it is just compare the other ones, and then and it's just so vastly different. Probably because island, far away. So last piece of context that I want to tack on to our previous discussion regarding Norse mythology and the Eddas and all that is that the thing we have is very specific, central to one place that was farther away and more isolated than the other parts of this Nordic culture that we are stamping it all on.
Yeah.
So bear in mind. Also, how the hell did the poetic Eddas end up in Denmark with that context? Wild!
knows,
Who knows? Dude. And with all that said, let's go to Valhalla.
Yeah, let's check it out.
DJ,
what's up?
What do you remember about Valhalla from the Magnus Chase books?
It's a hotel.
Yes, it is.
It's in its current iteration. It's got 800 and some odd floors, all with doors that can hold 800 and no.
No, that's something we said in the Magnus Chase, the book episode. We were wrong. It's 540.
540 floors?
Yes.
Okay. Can hold a lot of people.
It can hold a lot. No, it's important. It's a lot of people.
Yeah. Has a battleground, like constant amenities that was just a Viking's wet dream.
Mm-hmm.
Food for days.
Food for days.
It's got a goat that's got tofu in its ass. I don't understand how that one works.
We'll get into that.
All right.
We'll explore that. I have that on our list today.
You can only get there if you die in battle with a weapon in hand.
Mm-hmm. And a Valkyrie chooses you.
Yeah, and a Valkyrie chooses you.
Which means there's got to be a Valkyrie in here. We'll get to that. We can't talk about that right now.
That's about what I remember.
Yep.
Typically. It's connected to Yggdrasil. It's in Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
It's for specifically Odin's warriors, because we know that there are different versions of Valhalla.
Yep.
And, versions of Valhalla, just other counterparts to it.
Yeah, counterparts, like other Nordic afterlife options.
Yes.
Clarifying thing, it has 540 floors with 540 doors leading out into the 9 realms. And yeah, it's just a big hotel. And each floor is usually structured by age.
Yeah.
Because even though
age of when you died.
Yeah, not how long you died ago.
Yeah.
Because and I do appreciate the reasoning. It's like, one, it helps with our book being, we're a middle grade book, so let's make sure we got like the kids all hanging out together. That's the vibe we're looking for. But like, it's like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter how long you've been here, because adults will still have a hard time treating folks that they view as like teenagers
that they see
seriously.
as kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though it's like, but I've been here 800 years longer than you have.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, I buy that wholeheartedly.
No, yeah, I do too. I get it. I understand why.
I like that the hotel, I mean, of course it's magic. It always is. But like, the rooms are like magically aligned with what each resident would make them most comfortable. Magnus's room is great. I want to read that. The suite was nicer than any place I'd ever lived, nicer than any place I'd ever visited, including Uncle Randolph's mansion. In a trance, I moved to the middle of the suite, where a central atrium was open to the sky. My shoes sank into the thick grass. 4 large oak trees ringed the garden like pillars. The lower branches spread into the room across the ceiling, interweaving with the rafters. The taller branches grew up through the opening of the atrium, making a lacy canopy. Sunlight warmed my place. A pleasant breeze wafted through the room, bringing with it the smell of jasmine. They're talking about, and he's like, how is it so sunny and warm? It's the middle of winter. Hundings shrugged. I don't know, magic, but it's your afterlife, boy. You've earned some perks. And it's like this perfect little wooden forest grove.
Yeah.
With perfect summer weather, and it's got a great bed, and then there's a picture of him and his mom.
Yeah, it's very cute.
And it's a photo that he literally hasn't seen since
his mom died.
His mom died because it was destroyed when their apartment was destroyed. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. There was only one copy of this picture. It burned in a fire. And I turned to Hunding, who was wiping his eyes. Are you okay? Of course I'm fine. Of course I'm fine. The hotel likes to provide keepsakes, reminders of your life, photographs. Back when I died, they didn't have photographs. You're lucky.
You hate to see it, but
you hate to see it. We're going to talk about him this episode.
Oh, heck yeah.
This is a real fucking dude. Well, this is a real Norse mythological dude. But that's all. It's connected to all the realms. I like that extra detail of the suites being magically designed to make, because it is it's an
afterlife.
It's an afterlife. Yeah, we talked about it in the episode, like talking about how it's a hotel.
It's a rewarding afterlife.
Yeah,
too.
it's a hotel. It's temporary. They're only there until Ragnarok.
Yeah,
but it is still, like you said, a rewarding afterlife. It is something that in this mythology, in this like cosmic structure, they earned it and therefore are being rewarded for it. And I like that it's not just like stamp, well, it's Norse, so you're going to live like a Viking now. And not just being like, I hate this.
You're going to live like a Viking with just like communal sleeping area.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to be here. It's like, no, everyone has their own room and it's really nice and it's magically designed for whatever you need to feel most comfortable and warm and welcoming.
You know, when Odin went to go stay at like a human hotel, he's like, this shit is awesome.
Yeah, the first time he was, God, he went to the Ritz.
Yeah. 4 Seasons, like, this is fucking great, dude.
Oh, no, he swung by like one of the Disney resorts. He was at the Contemporary and it's like incredible.
Amazing, dude. Let's
do
it.
that.
Let's run it. Big fan of the structure we got going here.
So that is Hotel Valhalla. I think we spent a lot of time in a couple episodes ago just kind of gushing over. We just like Hotel Valhalla. It's super fun. What do you know about Valhalla from Norse mythology?
It's in Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
You get there by dying in battle.
Mm-hmm.
All the Enherjar, I believe that's the plural of it. I always get it mixed because normally E is the plural of words, but all the Enherjar are just sitting there waiting for Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Like, I know nothing else about it.
Basically that's reasonable.
Yeah.
We've got the Old Norse word for it is Valhall.
Okay.
And I will just say that I'm not going to pronounce a single one of those totally correctly, no matter what, because there are just symbols that we do not have in.
I want to see these symbols.
There's just, I can guess, but I don't know what that little O with a tail, not a Q. It means Hall of the Slain. It is located in Asgard specifically because it is Odin's hall. And as we talk about, it is only half of those who have fallen in battle are brought to Asgard. The rest are sent to Freya. And we're going to put a pin in as to why that is.
For a later episode.
Yeah, we're going to discuss Freya's hall later. So we're going to get into that. I want to make sure. I think it'll be more interesting to discuss why then. But only half. Mostly, it's the what is it, DJ?
Enherjar.
Yep. But along with like Germanic heroes and kings. So essentially any hero that was like named in like the poems or like sagas and stuff, they essentially would obviously end up in Valhalla.
Okay, yeah. The singular is Enherji.
Enherji. Okay. So
I can actually thank Smite for that one, and not a Norse god.
Really? Why is that?
There's a really long time ago. I really wish they did more of these. They did this event where they did like crossover. Technically, they took Kali and Chalk and gave them Viking skins. And the story behind that specific event was these two are being recruited into like the Norse mythology, so they can like the first Chalk skin is called Enherjar, and the second one's Storm Jarl.
Cool.
Yeah, and then
that's fun. I like that.
First Kali skin was Valkyrie, and the second one was Blood Jarl.
That's really fun.
It was really cool. I wish they did more of them because the skins are really cool too.
Yeah, that's neat. Having them just
they never did an event like that again.
I think that's cool to be like, yes, we're going to have figures from other pantheons visit other pantheons and have in-lore reasons and stuff. That just seems like a fun storytelling opportunity. But
really cool.
Okay. So, obviously, we got Valhalla being mentioned a couple of times in the Poetic Eddas. First, I'm going to talk about it's mentioned in the poem Grimnir's Sayings.
Okay.
And I want to, real quick, so when I reference the Poetic Edda, the names of the poems I'm going to be using are going to be the translated ones that as they appear in this one I have, which was translated by Caroline Larrington. And I mention that because sometimes if you're doing research online, it'll tell you what poem it appears in. And then you'll go over to your little index and you'll skim through. And the name of that poem is not listed because it's listing the like old Nordic or Icelandic version of the name and not the translated version.
Yeah.
So I will be using the ones that translate because this is the book I'm using. I feel like it'd be weird to use this poem and then use a translation that doesn't match.
Yeah.
But this poem is called Grimnir Sayings, and it's called that because it is essentially a story of Odin disguising himself. Grimnir means masked one. And we'll discuss Odin at the end of the season. Dude loves to just throw on a disguise and go on a walkabout.
Big fan. Better than Zeus's disguise.
Yes, because usually he just wants to see how things are doing. It's like an undercover boss, I feel like, or he just wants to show off how smart he is.
I mean, yeah.
In this case, it is an undercover boss situation.
If he's known for doing this, why were they so worried when Odin disappeared? It's like he's probably just disguised as somebody off looking around the 9 realms. He'll be back eventually.
Pin in that. We got it. We will circle back and discuss what's up, why that seemed like it didn't have to be as concerning as they made it. But so this one, it's an undercover boss situation because in being disguised, he is subsequently mistreated by a mortal king who was formerly in his favor.
Uh-huh.
And now obviously he has lost Odin's favor. And the poem, quote, like demonstrates Odin's wisdom and relays the topography of the world of the gods. In these passages and these like verses, he is naming places, essentially. Gladsheim a fifth is called. There, gold-bright Valhalla extends out widely. There, Odin chooses every day those dead in combat. It's very easy to recognize for those who come to Odin to see how his hall's arranged. Spear shafts the building has for rafters. It's roofed with shields. Mail coats are strewn on the benches. It's very easy to see for those who come to Odin to see how his hall's arranged. Wolf hangs west over the door. An eagle hovers above. And a couple passages later, we get more about Valhalla. Specifically, 500 doors and 40, I think there are in Valhalla. 800 in Heriar will pass through a single door. They will march out to fight the wolf.
Okay, so yeah, it's 800 per door.
Yes.
That's right.
Big doors, right?
Big doors.
Big doors? Got it. Big doors or just a lot of per
Big
door?
doors or single fire line?
Yeah, that's actually what is like. Like, do we think it is saying that the doors are big, or that there are just demonstrating how many of the in Heriar there are?
There's 432,000 in Heriar.
That's so
at time of battle.
Yeah, that's a lot. But also with how many people have died, doesn't feel like a lot.
Yeah, but these are the best of the best.
They are the best of the best. They are specifically selected for this.
Yep.
So, not the only place we get a little bit of Valhalla action going on in the Poetic Eddas. Let's swing to another poem. This one is the second poem of Helgi Hundingsbani. And this is essentially it's the second one because it is a sequel to another poem about this same dude, who was a Norse hero whose story is told in 2 poems that we have recorded in the Poetic Edda. And the second poem largely like repeats beats of the first, like a weird straight to VHS animated sequel.
Lion King 1.5.
Kind of, but then it goes off to give us more, specifically insight into the hero's death, his burial mound, which is what we are most interested in right here.
Mm-hmm.
So Helgi surpassed the soldiers, like bright glowing ash besides the thorn bush, and the young stag drenched in dew, who towers above all animals, and whose horns glow upright to the sky. Think about it. So it's what we have, the poems, like the actual poetic verses, are interspersed occasionally with a line of prose.
Mm-hmm.
A burial mound was made for Helgi, and when he came to Valhalla, Odin asked him to rule over everything with him. Helgi said, "Hunding, you shall fetch the footbath for every man and kindle the fire, tie up the dogs, watch the horses, and give pigs slop before you go to sleep."
Cool.
Yeah. So that's just kind of a reference of a hero the evidence of like a hero going to Valhalla, having fallen in battle, having had the burial mound.
Yeah.
And this is where we get the Helgi and Hunding element of these dudes who we meet running the hotel. Do you remember bits about these guys? So Hunding's the one that we had that showed Magnus.
Yeah, Helgi and Hunding's family were at odds I know they died at the same time, but Helgi got a better roll of things during the ceremony, so he was able to pick a servant, and he picked Hunging. And now Hunging has to do that for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Helgi's like the concierge, and Hunging is like the bellhop.
Yeah.
Is like the vibe I got. And yeah, that's like how it is outlined. So Hunging killed Helgi's dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understandable. I get why Helgi might hold something against Hunging.
So this is what happened. This is why Helgi is called in the poem Helgi Hunding's Bani is Bane of Hunding. Because he went and got revenge for this dude unaliving his dad.
There you go.
And that's a thing that happened in the first poem.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, he kills. So they both, but they, died in battle. So Hunding is also in Valhalla. And it's actually the second poem where we learn that Hunding is in Valhalla, because when Helgi shows up, Odin asks him to help run Valhalla, because he is, and that's a huge honor. That's incredible to have this mortal show up, and Odin himself is like, you're going to help me run heaven, basically.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, of course, he's going to have Hunding be the one who's going to do all the menial labor. He's not over the whole "you killed my dad"
You
thing.
killed my dad. I can't see him. He didn't die in battle. Fuck you.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, we don't have him running around. So a little bit into Hunding, who it's not explored super in depth. He does not have his own poem, but he's essentially king of the Saxons. So big deal. And himself. He killed Helgi's dad, who then I already covered that.
Yeah.
Killed the Saxons. But the name Hunding was also a legendary tribe in early Germanic sources, and the name translates to son of a hound, which when you call someone son of a hound now, it sounds like an insult.
Yeah.
Because actually, this is super interesting, because the fact that hound was used positively in these pagan Germanic cultures, because wolves and hounds were fierce.
Yeah.
So son of a hound was
wolves are a problem.
Because yes, DJ, wolves are a problem. So calling this tribe being the son of the hound was demonstrating power. You literally just the wolves. And then Christianity rolls up. They don't love that. The pagans are often called heathen hounds. And that does directly result in today calling someone oh, you son of a bitch, is an insult on a lot of levels. So that's your fun etymology for today, gang. But yeah, so it is it is interesting. The added, them running the Hotel Valhalla makes sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the reason he's oh, he just got a better deal. Now he gets to boss me around because we were enemies in life. And we left the reason why you were enemies in life out, Hunding.
That's just how Hunding explains it to everybody, so it seems like he actually did just get a raw deal. But meanwhile, if anybody asks Helgi, he's he killed my fucking dad.
That guy killed my dad.
He killed my dad. What do you want me to, of course I'm going to, I got power now, dude.
I got power now, and he's going to be in charge. He's going to be the bellhop for the rest of time. I'm not torturing him. I didn't do it. It's just he's going to carry your bags.
He gets his hands dirty, so I don't, because he dirties his hand in life. I don't know what you want from me.
I just thought that was wild.
That's super funny. Magnus Chase finds out, Hunding, what the fuck? You kind of lied to me, dude.
I didn't lie. We were rivals in life.
A lie of omission's a lie, dude. I felt bad for you.
Yeah, that's the thing. Oh, I felt bad. It seems unfair. And now I'm no, you still get to be in Valhalla.
Yeah.
You're not in a less desirable afterlife. So, nah, this seems okay. I think this is cosmically balanced. Now, obviously, we've got the Prose Edda.
Yeah.
Some real good Valhalla content.
Nice.
A big chunk of which comes from a section called the Gylfaginning. Yeah. Gylfaginning, or the Deluding of Gylfi.
Gylfi shows up in one of the later books, doesn't they?
Probably.
Sounds about right.
That sounds real.
The name.
Sure. So this is essentially a recording of a conversation between the Swedish king Gylfi and 3 men in the thrones of Asgard called High, Justice High, and Third. And I don't know why. I don't know why.
It's so stupid.
We can't get into that right now. We're going to focus up on where they get to talking about Valhalla. So he asked them a lot of questions about like the history and in the future, and the history and future of the Aesir.
Uh-huh.
And the creation of the world is described along with like a lot of aspects about Norse mythology. So we actually get a lot of like what we know and reference in common Norse mythology in this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not explicitly stated, but it's kind of interpreted that the 3 he's speaking to are actually just all Odin. Because Odin,
yeah.
why just do 1 costume when you can do 3 costumes?
This is great, dude. My costume budget is huge.
It's huge, yes. Then Gangleri said, "You say that all men who have fallen in battle from the beginning of the world are now with Odin in Valhalla. With what does he feed them? I should think the crowd there is large." Hai answered, "It is true as you say. A huge throng is already there, but many more are still to come. Yet even these will be thought to be too few when the wolf Fenrir comes. Never are there so many in Valhalla that they run out of meat from the boar called Sahrimnir." Sahrimnir?
Yep.
He is cooked every day, but is whole again in the evening. To answer your question, few, it seems to me, are so wise that they would answer it correctly. Adhrimnir is the cook. Adhrimnir is the cook, and Eldhrimnir is the kettle, as it says here. And here we have a passage from the Lay of Grimnir. Adhrimnir has Sadhrimnir boiled, in Eldhrimnir the best of meats, but few know on what the Einherji feed.
Nice.
And then he asks, does Odin eat the same food as the Einherji? Hai replied, he gives the food on his table to his 2 wolves, Geri and Freki. Giri and Freaky.
It's just so funny. Just Gary. Gary. Gary.
Geri.
Yeah, it's probably Gary. I wouldn't doubt it.
He himself needs nothing to eat. For him, wine is both drink and food. So it says here. Giri and Freaky are fed by the battle-skilled father of armies, but on wine alone, weapons glorious, Odin ever lives. And just remember, he wants you to know how to write poems. So important.
Like, dude, you just need to know how to write like this. It's great.
This next, we have another passage where Gangleri asks, on what sort of drink do the Einherji have that lasts them as long as food, or is water drunk there? That is a strange question. Would the All-Father invite kings and earls and other men of his rank to his hall and give them water to drink?
Mead!
That's essentially, they get the mead. It comes from that goat is remarkably useful to them, and that tree that she eats must be remarkably good. Even the most notable stag, Ikthirmin, who stands on the top of Valhalla and chews on the branches of the tree. So much moisture drips from his horns that it finds its way down. And then we have another passage of the doors, about there being 500 doors and still 40 more. We got none.
500 doors and still 40 more.
From the lame. Yeah, that's a great passage. That's
funny.
It's
a great way to say 540.
Yeah, right? 500 doors and still 40 more. That's why it's literally this is part of the poem.
Yeah.
They talk about the battle. Large crowds of people are at Valhalla. It is my belief that Odin must be a powerful lord because he controls so large an army. But how do the Einherji amuse themselves when they are not drinking? Hai replied, every day after they dress, they put on their war gear. They go out to the courtyard and battle, the one attacking the other. Such is their sport. When it comes time to eat, they ride home to Valhalla, sit down to drink, as it is said here. All Einherjar in Odin's home fields fight amongst themselves each day. The slain they select then ride home from the battlefield. Reconciled, they sit together again. So yeah. I love the poem thing. Just now understanding that the framing device of this is like, specifically, it's not just these characters are like and reciting poetry to each other. It's literally like, okay, here's an example of what I'm talking about. You see how it's being used in this context. Okay.
Like this might not actually be in the Poetic Edda, but this is just how you write it. Here's an example of how you write it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and the thing I just said is from the Lay of Fafhrudnir.
Nice.
So just this crazy long conversation about what do they drink? But what do they do all day?
Quite literally is.
They eat the meat of this creature, they drink mead, they fight. And then at the end of the day, they're all friends again.
Dude, I imagine so many like Vikings are like, dude, this shit sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
The idea? Like, it sounds great.
Just like upright in their seat, like listening to, dude, really?
We mentioned early on, as like the first passage from I read just now from the Prose Edda, the question being like, oh, you say they all who have fallen in battle go to Odin, which is the thing we know is not accurate.
Yeah.
As we mentioned earlier, like half will go to Freya. And that's just kind of a reflection of Snorri himself trying to conceptualize
Norse mythology
and an afterlife as he understood it in that context.
Yeah.
And that's just
totally fine.
Just totally fine. It's just funny. That's all I've got for Valhalla in terms of like meaty stuff. It's mentioned in other things, or characters are referenced having a burial mound, and you assume they go to Valhalla from that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like that's the most extensive exploration of Valhalla is kind of in what I just read from the Prose Edda, where you have this character really interrogating what it is and having these questions answered. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the meat.
The meat they eat.
From the Sahirmir?
Sahrimnir.
Sahrimnir.
Don't forget that R.
Don't forget that R. Sahrimnir.
Yep. It might be like Sahrimnir or some shit like that. But I don't quite know how Norse or Icelandic's actually supposed to be pronounced. I just kind of go off of what I know of, like, you know, what I've encountered.
Encountered. I think that's fair. We're gonna do our best.
Like, I could probably sound out a lot of Hawaiian words from what I've encountered of Hawaii, you know?
Yeah. What I just read had it say that it was from a boar.
Yep.
That might not be accurate. There's actually a discrepancy in the translation.
A discrepancy.
Mm-hmm. So it's the Prose Edda that specifically says it's a boar.
Uh-huh.
However, in the attached poem passage that cites where that it is what is eaten, that poem does not say what the creature is. It just says that it is boiled and is the best of meats. I
gotta say, I don't think boiled pork is that good. I don't know if there's really many meats I'm gonna boil. It's not gonna be pork.
No, boiled meat is not my favorite. Like in a broth.
Yeah,
like a soup.
Yeah,
with the bone. Maybe that.
Or like, I mean, the boiled chicken's not bad that we do. Mm-hmm. But that's also because it's like teriyaki and sugar.
Yeah, you gotta add stuff in the broth. Like that's you gotta It's not just boiling it to cook it. You're also boiling it to flavor it. The fact that there seems to be like a different kind of like etymology, scholars don't know. They don't know why it's called a boar here, but it like where did that come from?
Just to give it like a physical manifestation.
Yeah, that's right. Because Snorri's like he's taking artistic liberties as the author, and where it's called a boar is the prose. That's where he's writing. He has decided it is a boar.
Yeah. Also, boars can get pretty big.
Boars are scary.
Yeah. You could also have heard about the Greek boar. I don't remember the actual.
No, but it's scary. That one's also.
Yeah.
Talking a little bit about the etymology, modern scholars actually think the word might mean sooty sea beast or sooty sea animal, which might be connected to the Old Norse sehior, meaning cooking ditch.
Okay. I'm trying to think of like, would I boil fish?
I think you boil fish.
What do you boil?
Where did it come from? I don't know. This is me being like, so they don't. So it says a boar because Snorri called it a boar, and that's what Snorri's just out here being like, I get to say what Norse mythology is,
essentially.
And so it's
I'm the one
boar.
who chronicled it first. Okay,
I wrote it down for poetry reasons. It's a boar, but you go to the poem and you're like, Snorri, it doesn't say it's a boar. It just says it's meat.
Maybe to him, pork was the best meat.
And that's right, because it just say the best of meat. So Snorri really
I gotta
loves
give
the pork
to
chop.
beef personally, but you know, I've had some good pork. It's been a while since I've had anything that rivals a good steak.
Steak you made for your birthday was really good. Here's the thing. I cook with a lot of chicken because I think that's the easiest to cook with. I do a lot of Instapot stuff, and it's cheaper. It's easier, it's quicker. But damn, DJ, when you cook a steak, never not happy to see a steak waiting for me.
I'm very good with steaks.
You're very good with cooking is the thing about you, DJ.
I like cooking. It's fun.
So, how would you prepare the Sahirminir?
Depends on what it is. I'm not gonna.
You just said it was definitely beef because it's the best.
Okay, then I just like.
If that's all we have to go off.
If I could go like anyway, then I would probably do like either a really good brisket or a prime rib.
Would you slow cook it? Would you boil it? Maybe
I would try to smoke it.
You would.
I would get either a smoked brisket or a slow roasted prime rib.
You know, the Inheriar would go wild for a slow roasted brisket. After a long day of combat on the fields, they've reconciled back at the hall. Yeah. They're so ready for that.
Still very weird where it's the tofu being the left flank doesn't account for veganism still.
Yeah.
That's not what veganism is. That's not what being a vegan is.
Yeah. But the thing is, it comes back.
Yeah. It comes back to life.
But I'm also, what's weird is...
Also, I'm pretty sure it was, at the very least, the explanation in the book is it views it as a great honor to be eaten by Inheriar. So it would still be, as far as I'm aware, if you're a moral vegan, it would still be okay to eat it because it's giving consent to be eaten.
Yeah, and it's not dead?
It's not dying, Just, the tofu is so stupid.
I know. I want to pull up the exact passage so we can talk about that now that we've covered a little bit of the beast. Valkyrie flew past me, depositing a platter of food and a goblet in front of me. I couldn't tell what the slices of meat were, but they smelled great, drizzled in gravy with potatoes on the side and thick slices of bread with butter. It had been a while since I'd had a hot meal, but I still hesitated. What kind of animal am I eating? Sam wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. It's called samhirmir. Okay, but who names all this dinner? Is this, I don't want to know my dinner's name. This potato. Is this potato named Steve? No, stupid. That's Phil. The bread is Steved. Kidding. Sahirmir is a magical beast of Valhalla. They kill it every day and cook it for dinner. Every morning is resurrected alive and well. That must suck for the animal. But is it like a cow or a pig or it's whatever you want it to be? My portion is beef. Different section of the animal are chicken or pork. I don't do pork, but some guys here love it. What if I'm vegetarian? What if I want falafel? Well, if you want falafel, just ask for the left flank. That part is of tofu and bean curd. So, shout out to Rick, who's just like, this is what it's called. It's not anything. It's just a magical beast. It's a magical beast.
Yeah.
And people accuse Rick Riordan of not studying these myths. Well, look, he's not letting Snorri tell him it's a boar and going on about his fucking day.
It doesn't say it in the original text.
He knows best of meat, and you're going to get the best cut of whatever you ask for.
Yeah, you're going to get whatever you ask for.
Yeah, the part of it being, well, listen, it's tofu and bean curd. It's just a magical creature that is made of whatever proteins.
Is it like left knuckle peanuts? Or like...
Maybe. It's
so... It's just kind of dumb.
Oh, I think it's goofy in a good way. I think this is some classic. The Valhalla's a hotel and the beast has tofu. Like, I think that's great.
It's just so weird.
I mean, it is weird. I will give you it is weird. But is it any less weird than Snorri just deciding it's a boar based on, you know what my favorite kind of meat is? Which we've decided is the canonical reason why it's a boar.
I think it is more weird than that.
Yeah, I love that it's just... Rick Riordan not committing, being aware. It's like, no, we don't know what it is. It's magic. It's the best of all meat, and it's tofu.
Yeah. Part of it is tofu.
Part of it is tofu, because we want to make sure we acknowledge that some people aren't going to want to eat meat even in the afterlife. And so that's fine, and we're all good here.
There's the goat dripping mead.
Yeah, mead goat. That's just where they get their drink. That's
just what it is?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't read that properly.
It's a goat eating leaves off of Yggdrasil and dripping mead out its udders.
Yeah. That's when he asked, like, what do you think he's gonna have? Odin's gonna give them water.
Water? How insulting!
Truly, many who come to Valhalla, having suffered wounds and the pain of death, would think of a drink of water dearly brought if no better greeting were available. About that place, I can tell you another story. The goat Heidrun stands on top of Valhalla and eats the leaves from the branches of the most famous tree, Lirad. From her udders streams the mead that daily fills the vat so large that all the Inhari satisfy their thirst.
It's a wild thing to be dripping, first of all. Mead?
I think milk.
It said mead.
Did I say the word mead?
Yeah.
From her udder streams mead. Yeah, I did say mead.
Fermented honey wine.
Yes, I guess.
From this goat's udder.
Valhalla's crazy. Noteworthy, there's not a poem he cites there for that. So
it's probably made up by him.
I will acknowledge, I don't know where he's getting that from. I don't know where we get the goat who eats the leaves and does honey wine. But
it's fun.
It's fun.
Why not?
And yeah.
It's not the weirdest thing in Norse mythology.
No.
It's just a little funky.
It's like, ugh. Water? You think Odin would give them water?
Sure,
no,
they might appreciate it when they first arrive.
If there was nothing else, yeah. But in fact there is, it's goat meat, and it's incredible.
It's the best meat you ever had.
Mm-hmm. And this one, it says it drips into a vat, and Rick Riordan introduces the idea of these people who are forced to carry it to try to catch the meat drips.
It's free range.
It's free range.
It's free range. It makes it taste better.
And then the idea that
I don't understand why they wouldn't just have it while it's up there. Big, huge funnel that just like catches everything that's, it's walking around above it, and then it's catching everything, and it's just going into like a vat.
Yeah.
Be way easier than having these Valkyries fucking
zooming around trying to catch
a bucket, constantly sloshing it out a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, we'll mention the tree since we talked about the goat. The tree that it's in, Lirand, so it's in Valhalla, but it's often identified as it's identified with Yggdrasil.
Okay.
So the idea is that it might actually be Yggdrasil. Like, because Odin's hall would be the center of like all of the cosmos.
Yeah.
And if the world tree is the thing that stretches out into it, then if there was a tree in Valhalla, it would have to be part of it would be part of Yggdrasil.
I mean, that's just kind of what I assumed regardless.
Yeah, like that just makes sense. But yeah, it's given a different name. It's also described as being like the most beautiful thing ever. We just kind of skim past it. But there's a really pretty tree in the middle of Valhalla that may or may not just be one of the tops of Yggdrasil.
So it's just a sakura tree.
Yes.
Arguably, it's one of the most beautiful trees.
Prettiest fucking tree I ever did see. I love a sakura tree. Yeah.
A good sakura tree, dude. Come on.
I don't know how well sakura trees would do in Scandinavia, but
it's not in Scandinavia. It's in Valhalla.
They're right. It's in Valhalla, the center of all the cosmos.
It's in Valhalla.
Valhalla. Yeah, and that's why the goat drips meat instead of milk, because it's eating the leaves of the most magical, beautiful tree of all time that may or may not be the cosmological tree center of the universe. And that's Valhalla. It's like a really important thing. But I think this is something that we're going to come up with a lot covering Norse mythology, is that since there's such a limited sources to draw from, we're not going to have seven.
Like holding these two books. They're like at best 150 pages.
Let me see.
And it's two of these, and this is the whole of Norse mythology.
So there's a bunch of footnotes. So I'm going to skip the part where it's just noting footnotes. Still flipping through the end of the footnotes. Explanatory notes. Here's the appendix. We'll skip through the appendix. Okay, so the Poetic Edda is like 273 words or pages. And that's what's like officially, quote unquote, officially Norse mythology. And then we got Snorri's fanfics.
Snorri's fanfics.
Snorri's fanfics, which is like...
it's also officially, quote unquote, officially Norse mythology.
And then 152. So I'm sitting here with just under 400 words.
Riordan wrote a longer book.
Magnus Chase... The Gods of Asgard, The Sword of Summer, is in fact longer than the two versions of the books that I have that are essentially the entire compilation of what we know Norse mythology to be. Obviously, there were some stray poems. There's some sagas that you would pull from as well, but like those, I feel like are supplementary material. Also, we talked about this last episode.
Yes.
The entirety.
It's so funny. It's because it's like then you have the Odyssey and the Iliad. That are both like ridiculously long.
And they're just one thing, and they're just one piece. Well, that's because we got the primary sources, and I'm sure, and also as a literary culture, that's actually really important. That's super good that there would have been stories as complex and detailed as the Odyssey and the Iliad, and they just were never written down, and
Sucks,
so.
Dude.
the entirety of what we have recorded for what we understand Norse mythology to be is in fact shorter than this Norse fanfic that Rick Riordan wrote 1,000 years later.
It's really funny.
Damn, DJ. I don't know what to make of that. I just really threw me for a loop. Can you tell us about Assassin's Creed Valhalla while I recover?
So here's the thing about that. I never played it.
So no, you can't.
I can't. Which I meant to play it, but it's just like around the time that it started to come out is when I stopped kind of playing longer games like that.
Yeah, it's an investment.
Just because it was, shit started happening and I just started losing interest in shit like that. Mm-hmm. Which bums me out because it's probably really fun. I probably would have had a blast with it. I found it comical the fact that it takes place in England after just a few quests in Norway at the start of the game. Then you just sail on to England and start fucking with the Anglo-Saxon.
Sure. That's what we do.
I know you can ride wolves.
You can ride wolves?
You get a big fuck-off wolf that you can ride.
That's so good. There's no way they were riding
you can
wolves.
Get Gungnir, or not Gungnir, Sleipnir too.
Yeah.
Gungnir's his spear.
Yeah, that's the spear. You want the horse with the 8 legs.
Which is Sleipnir.
I love that. That's so good. It's so weird. Yeah, I don't think you're going to...
It's like a mount, and you can get skins for the mount.
Fuck yeah, you can.
Yeah. In Odyssey, you can get a Pegasus, which was fun, and a unicorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mad Max Fury Road pulls Valhalla iconography a little bit. The Immortal Joe and the War Boys. The War Boys are essentially taught if they die in honor of Immortal Joe, they will get to go to Valhalla. Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. I think it's interesting how the concept of this one, like, it is not just if you die in battle, you will go to the afterlife. It is, this concept is warped to attach to one person to help cement and elevate their power.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool that in the concept of Valhalla, it's not anchored to any specific thing like that. It's not anchored to you must die for one person. You must die for the noble cause of our country. You must die for... It's just you die in battle. And the assumption is if you were fighting something that you died for, then it must have been a good enough reason. Yeah. Like there is... And that is a thing you can dissect and talk about what is a just war and stuff. But like stepping back into like pre-Christian, like just world in general.
Yeah.
The idea that if you are willing to die for something, that is a good enough reason for you to get to go to the afterlife where your all-father deity is like, hell yeah, come eat the best of me, drink this amazing goat mead, and fight together, and then come back to my hall and let's do it all again. That's cool.
That's fun.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And so I think it's another way that, like, listen, Mad Max Fury Road is a great fucking movie, and the fact that you have this, like, it's not just, Norse mythology being used so metal, but that it's been warped to specifically be like, you have to die for this man, just really underlines how Immortal Joe fucking sucks and needs to get wrecked. He needs to get Furiosa needs to wreck his shop. Let's go. Hey, DJ, Dragon Ball. Do you think Grand Kai's planet would qualify as a Valhalla?
I don't know.
Since where the heroes just go to fight?
I don't know Dragon Ball.
Oh, you don't know Dragon Ball? I'm going to walk away from this.
Sorry about that one. Dragon Ball is not super my forte.
I see. What about, can I tell you about the Wonder Woman comics?
Go ahead.
So in the early comics, Steve Trevor got taken to Valhalla. He dies.
Steve Trevor's the love interest, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's
Chris Pine.
That's Chris Pine. He dies, and a Valkyrie takes him to Valhalla, and Diana has to rescue him because, shit, no. And then in Elseworld, Wonder Woman Warbringer, Themyscira is reconceptualized as being a sort of Valhalla, where it's an afterlife for women who died fighting for the protection of others.
Nice. And
they live in a paradise, but they also, test their skills as warriors.
Fun.
Sonic 2, the movie, implies that...
Damn it, I meant to watch that. That fucking sucks. It's being brought up now. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, I'll skip.
No, you're fine. Keep going.
It's implied that there's a Valhalla-type afterlife because Knuckles states that the rest of the owls and echidnas have passed on to the great battleground in the sky.
Let's go, dude.
I think that's similar to what you see over in Star Trek, I'm just swinging over to Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because the Klingon afterlife, Stovokor, is described as basically like about, which makes sense for the Klingons, is like a warrior race. It's described that if a Klingon dies in combats, all of the Klingons who witness their death, including the one who killed them, stops to howl at the sky to inform Stovokor that a warrior is about to arrive.
That's sick.
Bonus.
That's huge.
Yeah, this is what's great. It's also believed that the Klingons themselves set up this system after they killed their own gods. To quote Worf, they were more trouble than they were worth.
Let's go, dude. That's great.
A little bit more in Star Trek times, because in Star Trek Discovery, it's implied that the Terrans of the Mirror Universe. DJ, are you familiar with the Mirror Universe?
In Star Trek?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. But you're familiar with the Mirror Universe.
I mean, if it's like, oh yeah, it's the Mirror Universe, and if I can go off that name, I can understand what the Mirror Universe is.
Yeah, it's the Mirror Universe, and everything is bad there. So the Terrans, there essentially, it's suggested they believe the same thing, where warriors who are slain in battle are rewarded. And Giorgio keeps talking about how she wants to die in battle, but there's an added thing that says anyone she kills will be her servant in the afterlife. Which is like, then won't you also be the servant to whoever you killed? But if you have more servants than they, like...
If I have more servants, then they tell me to do something, I can tell my servants to do that thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It was, I mean, I try to do a little brief because I haven't really actually encountered Valhalla all too much in many of the games.
Yeah.
And then I tried to Google Valhalla in video games, and only Assassin's Creed came up.
Yeah, wild, right?
It's very difficult to try to get any other Valhalla from any other game.
Yeah,
right now.
I definitely broadened it to rather being specific Valhalla. It's like afterlife where warriors are rewarded, and it explicitly has to be warriors, and there has to be fighting in that afterlife. You can't you died in battle and now you get to chill on a hammock.
No, because that's Elysium.
Because that's Elysium. But I would almost argue that in the Hades game, the Fields of Elysium is a sort of Valhalla.
It definitely felt like it.
Because of the arena.
We're here to fight, bro.
Yeah. They just
we're having a good time.
It seems like they're constantly fighting in the arena. Every time he rolls up, it's Theseus and Asterion just waiting to throw hands again.
So good.
And it cannot just be Zagreus fighting here. Where's everyone else?
It's got to be other.
It was set up before you showed up for the first time.
Yeah.
Shout out to Terry Pratchett's Discworld.
Yeah.
It's because Terry Pratchett was the madman, just a mad lad who did great things. So there's a ton of afterlives, including Valhalla. And there's also Valkyries who are bringing people to Valhalla, fallen warriors. And also, quote, one very confused school teacher who I think was there because of a clerical error.
It's just going weird. Does Valhalla show up in the Endless comics?
The Norse deities do.
So it is.
But we never actually are in Valhalla.
Okay.
But they roll up in the 4th volume. A bunch of pantheons roll up because
hell is open.
Because Morpheus now has hell, and all of them want the real estate. We will do a remyth episode of that one eventually. Eventually. But yeah, Thor, Loki, and Odin roll up.
Nice.
That's actually great. But speaking of comics, obviously the Marvel comics are going to have Valhalla. And you'd think we're going to be mentioning the Marvel comics a lot. And we will. But I'm surprised we haven't done more with Valhalla, because I double-checked. And it's like definitely a thing that's been mentioned, but not a thing that the comics have done a lot of. And in fact, the most recent major portrayal was in Thor: Love and Thunder, the movie.
Oh, okay.
Because early on, Sif, Thor finds Sif, who we find out was not killed in Hela's onslaught of Asgard, or slaughtered by Thanatos, or by
Thanos.
Thank you. Slaughtered by Thanos at the beginning of Infinity War.
Funny.
He finds her dying. And she wants Thor to leave her, so she's like, let me leave so I can go to Valhalla. And Thor reminds her, actually, that only works if you actively die in battle. The battle is over and you're just lying here dying. Maybe your arm went to Valhalla because her arm got cut off in the fight. He's like, but unfortunately, you yourself will not go to Valhalla right now.
Hate to see. I'm sorry, Steve.
But in the post-credit scene, Jane Foster dies fighting the Godslayer, which is a little interesting because she does, but actually she dies because she finally succumbs to the cancer that's been ravaging her body.
But then it's a battle with cancer.
She dies from the battle with cancer, but she was fighting it. And the only reason she ultimately lost was because she gave up Mjolnir to stop well, that was the comics. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
But she shows up in Valhalla and is greeted by Heimdall.
Nice.
And that makes me happy that Jane Foster got to go to Valhalla. We do see Valhalla in the Grimm Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Hell yeah.
Billy dies and gets sent to Valhalla. Oh, this is the clerical error. And eventually Odin and Thor kick him out because he out-eats and out-fights everybody. And I have just been thinking a lot of the Grimm Adventures of Billy and Mandy recently because of how much Has Been Hotel I've been watching.
Fair enough.
And then I got one more classic Cartoon Network animated cartoon. I don't know why I said animated cartoon, as if those things were not already linked. Samurai Jack and the Lava Monster.
Nice.
Did you ever see this episode?
No.
Okay, so Jack is challenged by a lava monster who's built a labyrinth out of like lethal hazards that like only the best warrior could possibly get through. And you find out that this lava monster is actually a Viking warrior who was cursed by Aku, because of course he was, because Aku is the fucking worst.
Aku sucks.
And so he really just wants to die an honorable death so he can go to Valhalla. And Jack complies with his wish and beats him in battle. And at the end of the episode, you see him back in his human form, like looking down on Jack from Valhalla as he walks away. Like, that's really touching.
Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can actually bring something up here. That'd be fun. But in Invincible, there is a race of aliens that are all like kind of lionish.
Uh-huh.
And it's Battle Beast that we know, right?
Yep.
His name is Throck. It's really cool. I like him as a character.
Okay.
Very scary, very strong.
Yes, classic.
He gets into a fight with the Supreme Viltrumite because he's like, I'm just looking for somebody strong to hunt. And that dude was strong.
Mm-hmm.
He ends up dying. And I'm trying to remember if after they inform the race, because like Battle Beast, the title Battle Beast is like, how do I phrase it? It's like Mjolnir, but not an item. It gives you powers.
Okay.
And it's inherited, but only one person of this race has it.
Kind of like Black Panther?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
And so when he died and they informed him, I'm trying to remember if the leaders, he probably went to like the afterlife, and the afterlife was something similar to Valhalla. I couldn't find it quickly, but his daughter inherited, Battle Beast's daughter inherited the title of Battle Beast. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the last we get of it.
We haven't seen her since.
Well, because the series ended.
Oh, right. You were talking the comic. Okay, yeah. Wild.
No, we haven't seen that fight in the show yet. I'm very excited.
I will admit, much like you, I was surprised Valhalla doesn't show up more.
Valhalla doesn't show up a lot, no. It probably... I've been meaning to continue to play it, the Asgard's Wrath VR game. Mm-hmm. It probably shows up eventually there because you do visit like the Nine Realms. It's a 25-hour game, which is crazy to me. But yeah, I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you do have to very specifically, if you're doing Valhalla, it really does need to reflect the overall story, because you can just be like, oh, Elysium, and it's like our paradise afterlife, right?
Yeah.
Like heaven, whatever.
No, Valhalla is like specifically, it's got to have the battle.
It's got to have the battle, and it's also like a reward, so you have to have the living culture be a thing that would be in favor of Valhalla.
Yeah.
And that's not a thing, and I think that's why when we do see it, it's like one component of if there are many afterlife possibilities,
mm-hmm.
and we just happen to have a character that is related to that.
Yeah, definitely feels like it. It would be fun to see like more content made in like Valhalla, like a la Magnus Chase, where it's like, I'm an Enheryi and I'm just gonna go do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, honestly, I feel like Magnus Chase is one of the biggest times we've gotten Valhalla being a center place and not just like a concept that characters, when another character passes, say they went to. And that's interesting that we don't have more of that, especially in like Norse stuff. But then I think that's just with the concept of death. Like we don't really see the afterlife. So I do like, I guess it actually does make sense for it just to be used as like a passing reference to give us like reflection, a sense of like a culture's beliefs. that when you have like a warrior race like the Klingons or the Terrans or wherever the fuck Knuckles is, that they would believe in having like the great battlefield in the sky. But usually those races and like character types are not our protagonist. And I think that reflects on like modern culture, really, like the idea of spending your afterlife in constant battle. That's not really something we value.
No.
We, speaking like specifically, are like Americans.
No, because typically battle isn't. It's not something to be glorified.
Yeah,
in our society.
Circling back to like to what I mentioned earlier about like how it like there's no the idea of like the just war theory, and there's a lot more like complicated feelings about war and battle and things like that. And
but Vikings didn't really
that.
feel that
because I think when you get to a point in time where there were times where it's like that was just there weren't other avenues around it. Mm-hmm. Whereas today you would argue there is always another avenue, and it does not have to be.
Yeah, violence isn't the only
violence
answer.
Isn't the answer. It doesn't have to be if you're willing to compromise and make right. And I'm not saying violence is never the answer. Sometimes violence is the answer.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta.
And sometimes you're just like, I feel like you chose violence for power. Yeah, prematurely. You're just
feel like you escalated a little quickly there.
Yeah. I do like the Elseworlds Wonder Woman thing where it is because like died protecting. And I think that could be a thing you'd see often where it's like the violence.
I think that's
not
something
just
that
the
they
glory
had
of
in
battle.
Magnus Chase is you died in battle protecting someone, being a hero.
I don't. The examples we all see are of that, but they talk about like, especially like TJ in the third book will talk about seeing Confederate soldiers in Valhalla as well.
Maybe they were protecting soldiers on their side.
Well, okay. We'll talk. Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
It's like the thing about Valhalla is that it's not believed that it's only for this group of ideology. So
I'm
it's
just like,
of course it
okay,
would be
protecting soldiers on their side.
like
but
both.
My argument is I don't
people
think
from both sides of a war will be in Valhalla.
Yeah, I don't know if protection is an element. It is heroics though. And I wonder if that element of us seeing, all the examples were people who died heroically are Rick Riordan showing a reflection of what we would want to see. We didn't see anyone who died in battle because they just got in a fight stupidly or were like robbing a bank and got in like and things went bad with their like conspirators and they died in battle. Like I feel like that would count. Like if two people robbed a bank and then they tried to turn on each other and battled and one of them died, like that would count, but that would suck. So I wonder if that's us seeing the Valkyries, who we know have these like Danny Phantom Juniper Lee double lives where they are living in today's culture, most of them, making calls on who they think are worthy. And
I don't think it's most of them. I think it's some of them.
I don't know.
Because we know...
pin it. We have to talk about it later. We have to save something for the Valkyrie episode. No, you're absolutely right. And that is the thing we'll talk about.
I think they just become immortal. And Odin's like, all right, thank you. Here's the curse of immortality.
I don't know. It's so perplexing. Ganilla's one. She's like 500. She's in there forever. She's a daughter of Thor. But like, then Sam is hanging out. What are we doing? I'm so confused.
That's what I'm talking about.
Maybe our guests for those episodes will be able to chime in because I don't
talk
know.
About it.
For now, I think that is going to be curtains for Valhalla and these Valhalla adjacent topics. Helgi hunting, the best of all meat beast.
Yep. Sehrimnir.
Thank you so much, DJ, for your assistance now and forevermore.
Yep. I like pronouncing them. They're fun.
Yes,
you're at the very least trying. You know?
It scares me. I get self-conscious.
Right. Sehrimnir?
Yeah, totally. DJ, do you have a favorite Valhalla?
Hotel Valhalla.
I do like the idea of having other activities.
It's so funny.
We fight, and also I would like to take a pottery class.
Eventually, I'm like, if fighting is getting kind of rough, I'm gonna go learn some other shit.
Yeah.
You guys have fun at the war, or if I'm bored, fuck it, let's go, let's run it. Let's see what's going on. Yeah. I gotta sharpen my skills a little bit.
I just feel like in Hotel Valhalla, like that fighting is not optional. Every day you do gotta show up for combat.
It kind of feels that way. I wonder. It probably isn't optional. Actually,
when does Halfborn have time to get all of his doctorates? If every day you gotta fight, and that
probably
only ends when you die, and you gotta. They do sleep. That's how they recover.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's how they recover. But it's like when you wake up, he probably's like, all right, let's just start working on the doctorate.
I guess it's true. He'll work on his doctor until he gets there.
The battles aren't lasting probably more than an hour. You know?
That's true. It didn't seem like Magnus was on the field for that
No, it's
long.
definitely some people are like, it's like fighting for 5 minutes to an hour and then sleeping for maybe 2 to 3.
Yeah, bet.
Because I just cannot imagine that if you die, it's actually going to take you fucking like any more than
like 6 to 10 hours. Yeah, that's a lot of time.
That's a lot of time to be like.
Yeah, we don't have an exact timeline on how long it takes to bounce back.
That or the battles. I mean, the battles don't happen at the end of the day. We know that the dinner does.
Yeah,
but
because then they reconcile and they all go eat the hall together. Yeah. You're right. So it's like a midday thing. You go recover. We'll meet you back here for dinner.
Yeah.
Gonna have some tofu and bean curd from the Magic Beast. Thank you all so much for listening. Do you know any Valhallas that we missed? I feel like there are some, but I also wouldn't be surprised if there isn't really many that are heavily explored beyond passing comments to the great battlefield in the sky.
I'm sure that's probably it, honestly.
Let us know. Hit us up. We are on Instagram. Mostly on Instagram. We are on the other socials too, but like I'm not active on them. I'm always shocked when I get a notification that someone liked one of our posts. I'm like, when did we post? Who are you?
Last post I remember is making that post about Eric Sparrow. Fuck that guy.
What? When did you do this?
It was fucking like a year ago.
Okay. Until then, we will be back in your ears on Tuesday, March 19th to talk about CERT. Until then, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Muses of Mythology is created and hosted by Darien and DJ Smartt. It's edited by Darien Smartt. The show is produced by Darien and DJ Smartt, as well as
Tim O'Connor, The Crystal Conman, Nicholas Miller. Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain, and our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at Bombshell Nutshell Art.
Want more Muses of Mythology? Support the show on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Get more at patreon.com/Muses of Mythology.
You can also support the show by leaving a review at lovethepodcast.com/Muses of Mythology, or tell a friend why you love the show.
Don't forget to check out all of our episodes and episode transcripts at musesofmythology.com.
Thanks for listening.